get into this when we actually talk about the meeting. Like, you can talk about this console all you want. Why didn't they show off VR at all? Why wasn't PSVR featured at this meeting at any point? Like,
and then Cerny's sitting there talking about the, I guarantee you all those other Japanese TV manufacturers were just sitting there like, thank you guys so much for just explaining HDR and 4K
and not
to
showing
the
off your
entire
own
world.
TVs. Yeah.
And you never, sit there for 15, 20 minutes talking about the benefits of 4K, the benefits of HDR, this fucking sunset from San Francisco behind me, and you don't have it on a Sony Bravia TV. Are you kidding me right now? Sony has always had this problem where the right hand doesn't talk to the left, and this is part of it, man. VR and the 4K TVs should have been talked about. That's the thing.
They did talk about VR.
When?
They mentioned the fact that it'll be compatible.
That was 1/4 of their presentation. It was a whole segment that it will make frame rates higher and images more crisper, depending on what the developer wants.
Yeah, and then there was like a montage of like.
Well, yeah, because you can't really show it.
They mentioned VR, Dom. I agree, but they really didn't talk about it, in my opinion.
You look at any site covering this event, and VR is a footnote at the very least, because it was a footnote at the very least of the event. This thing's coming out. You want it to sell, like.
HDR was like, they talked about HDR 4 times as long as they talked about
VR.
So
we're actually going to transition now. We talked about the PS4 Pro, and we can still talk about it during this next topic, but I want to get into the meeting as a whole. I'm going to go through a rundown of everything, and then we can just nitpick or go towards whatever we want to talk about. So I already went over the prices and the release dates for both of the consoles. They showed off PS4 games that were being displayed on the PS4 Pro, and that included First Light, the new Spider-Man game.
It's just Infamous Light.
Infamous Light, sorry.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man game, Mass Effect Andromeda, which we've already kind of touched on a little bit. They talked about
Days Gone.
Yep, Days Gone.
Horizon
Was actually the one that took my breath away. I'm still salty that that's a PS4 exclusive because that game just looks so beautiful.
The problem with that whole thing was like no one watching that streaming over the internet on their
took advantage
phones.
of how much better it looked. Yeah, because
exactly, you can't tell. You simply can't tell, and they mentioned that, and they're like, so you can download the raw video files here or whatever, so you can actually tell.
Exactly.
I was laughing at Mark Cerny. I'm like, it's been 15 minutes of you explaining HDR and 4K to people through a visual medium on displays that cannot show what you're showing them. Like, you're showing them example videos, you're showing them these demos, and it still just looks like a 1080p TV because it's being displayed through that kind of display.
Yeah, and then the worst
part,
it's
not going to change.
The worst part is with that sunset, it didn't really even look much better. It just looked more blown out because you can't really appreciate that on a regular monitor. Oh man! But they also talked about the apps, which the Netflix app, and then I can't remember the other app. Do you guys remember what the other app was?
YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. About
which Netflix's launch, YouTube's in development.
Yeah, and none of these are exclusive. So this isn't like an EA Access situation with like the Xbox. These are not exclusive to PlayStation in any form. They also announced, which this was like kind of hushed in near the end of the conference. They said like a sentence about it. Current PS4s are actually getting an HDR update for the firmware like in a week, I think. So that kind of is another reason not to buy this new thing. So like. Yeah. Once again, I don't think that like there's no reason for this console not to exist. I think it's dumb to say why does this exist. Obviously, there's a reason, but like, it's this HDR update is still another reason of like, should I upgrade? No, wait, And then people are still going to be waiting to make a decision on either the Scorpio or the PlayStation 5 or whatever the hell they decide to come out with next. Like, this adding this stuff to it kind of takes away one reason to buy the PS4 Pro, The new peripherals, which Dom informed me about, I remember seeing them, but once again, it was like a footnote. We have the new DualShock 4, which we talked about in a couple episodes before, that was leaked with the new light bar in the front. The new PlayStation camera has a new sleek design, seems to work better with PSVR. The new headset, the new Platinum headset, and that's pretty much everything. There's some smaller things there that we can get into about the meeting as a whole. What
Did
do
you
guys
mention Slim there?
Yeah, Slim was. I announced that at the beginning of the topics. So my issue with that, it's cool that it's a standard model moving forward. My issue is it didn't seem like they talked about that too much. Because correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't that new model doesn't it perform better than the original PS4, right?
No, I don't think so.
It doesn't?
It's the same exact.
It's the same exact thing? Okay. I wasn't
just
too sure
smaller.
about that, so. Okay.
And it's like twice as power efficient, that sort of stuff.
Okay, so there was really no reason to go more in depth on it. Just say like this is the new look of it. Okay.
That thing is going to sell itself at $300. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
Jared, I was going to ask you, is that getting you any closer to buying a PS4? The Slim?
No, because the Xbox One S is $300, and if I'm gonna spend $300 on a console, I'd get the upgraded Xbox.
Really?
Yeah. It doesn't do much for me because like at this point now, right? Now that there's this new PS4 Pro, I'm kind of like I don't own a PlayStation. I might just wait till that thing drops in price in 6 months to a year. Like that kind of made it so I'm definitely more likely not getting a PS4 anytime soon. Because I don't want to go and buy the quote unquote old one. If I'm going to buy the PS4, I want to buy the best performing one. So I'm just going to wait for that to get a price drop.
Dude, I want the best performing one, but I can't fucking buy that ugly piece of shit. Like,
yeah.
I can't spend $400 on that.
Yeah. That thing's...
You're turning away your dream girl
exactly
for physical appearances, Jordan.
Here's the issue,
exactly. She has the best personality of anyone I've ever met. Yeah. But my God, if I don't have to put like 4 bags over that face.
The thing I'm worried about too is like my entertainment center has glass like layers. So like I sit everything on glass pieces of glass. I'm worried that if I get the PlayStation 4 Pro and then I get the Scorpio, that thing's gonna shatter. I don't think it can hold that much weight.
You're talking about some weight there, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so
I was
actually
Dom, I was going to yesterday when you were talking about like how the PS4 Pro looked. I was actually going to refer to it as a brown bagger.
A brown bag.
So,
I turned the lights off.
Yeah.
I think another thing that goes towards this being something that Sony wants to sell. Obviously, they want to sell anything they make, but maybe this isn't their next major step. Whatever the PS5 is or PS4.5. Is that it doesn't seem like there's a huge push towards publishers. He stated that they're asking publishers.
What else can they do?
Yeah, but it comes off a lot different than this. And I hate to compare this, but it's going to be the case. This is the comparison everyone's making. The Scorpio announcement, they had people on stage, like developers, talking wholeheartedly about this. You didn't really see that at the meeting at all. Like, you didn't see any developers go up there and be like, PlayStation 4
it was developers in a video for Microsoft.
Yeah, but
and then following
PlayStation
shortly
didn't have that either.
Shortly following too, a lot of developers tweeted out. I can't wait. Not like Neil Druckmann tweeted out. Can't wait for you guys to see what Last of Us and Uncharted 4 look like on this thing.
Why wasn't he on stage?
And yeah, no, you're right. That should have been a part of the press conference.
With a fucking Bravia in his hand.
Exactly. Walk out on stage with the TV.
Yeah.
I really that you need to have people believe that developers are behind this, and whether his wording was incorrect and maybe it was a mistake, or maybe that's just how they decided to word it and they thought it was gonna, people weren't even gonna hang up on that. The fact that he said asking publishers, you can back up that's you guys are actually doubling down on this if you have developers out there talking about it. It could be a video, it could be them standing physically on stage. The fact of the matter is you had Andy House up there, you had Mark Cerny, who's super smart, but man, that dude makes people fall asleep when he talks. You didn't have any developers out there selling people on this. And I think the biggest issue isn't that the PS4 Pro exists, it's that the messaging was so bad as a whole,
Yeah, a lot of sources are coming out and saying that, developers are really wishy-washy on this. And that it doesn't seem like there's a lot of developers that are just totally in on it.
Yeah.
Of course, the Sony first parties are going to be, but that and the fact that, like, yeah, you did mention developers seemed really excited for Scorpio. I think the reason is this is where the half step's going to kill them, because the developers aren't going to see this update for this patch for their game to run in 4K or to run on the PS4 Pro. Like, let's say Witcher 3. Like, I mean, obviously CD Projekt Red will do that because they'll do fucking anything for their fans. But yes, anything. But yeah, so like they're updating Witcher 3 for PS4 Pro, and they're bumping it up a little. They're basically taking it from medium to high settings or medium to ultra settings on PC. But then it's not going to feel like they're getting they're going to put in so much work that it's not going to feel worth it to them, I think.
Yeah, because it is such a half step. I get what you're saying, yeah.
Right. And whereas with the Scorpio, they're probably going to put in just as much work. It probably won't be any more work than the PS4 Pro. But it's such a large difference, and it is in 4K, and it is, got all the teraflops, and it does actually run it the way that you want it to be run when it's running in 4K. I just think that it's like Microsoft is basically saying, okay, we're taking you into the next generation, but really the games are all going to run on the same system. You're either going to be on like medium settings or ultra settings, right? And Sony's like, yeah, you're either going to be on medium high, and that tiny little bit doesn't seem like much, but it's going to piss developers off that they have to do so much work for that tiny little bump.
So one important thing is, even though the Scorpio is going to be much more powerful than the PS4 Pro, it's still not going to be nearly powerful enough to do what everyone expects it to do at this point. Graphics cards 30-40% more powerful than what the Scorpio is proposed to be. Can't even run things smoothly, consistently at 4K. So it's still not a full step. I think it's a bigger step, right? It's three-quarters instead of half, I guess.
It's a full step to an average consumer.
Sure, definitely.
Well, in comparison, yeah.
Even if it's not running at 4K, I guarantee you they could have it running at 1880p or 2440.
But it's still gonna heavily rely, maybe not as heavily, but it's still gonna rely on that upscaling that PS4 Pro is using a little bit more. But for most games, it's still gonna be the case.
And I think the biggest issue is like, so I don't think the PS4 Pro deserves to be compared to the Scorpio, because I don't think that's what Sony's intention was by any means.
Plus, Scorpio's not here yet, and PS4 Pro is.
Yeah, but the thing is that their whole messaging is powerful, 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 and it's not much more powerful. It's not.
Yeah. Because if you are the very highly discriminating gamer that they described in this scenario,
the guy eating Grey Poupon and sipping on some red wine.
If you got your croissant in one hand and your controller in the other, and you're just bouncing back and forth, then yeah, if you're that discriminating, then you're probably just going to go with the Scorpio because it's the higher powered one.
But it's not here yet. I can't buy a Scorpio in November.
No, but it's a year out. I mean, if you're that highly discriminating, right, with your fucking croissants and your Grey Poupon, I think you're just going to wait a year because you're like, oh, well, this PS4 Pro, it doesn't quite have all the specs that I'm looking for.
Well, you'd probably buy the PS4 Pro and then trade it in for the Scorpio when it did come out, because you still want something better.
You still want the most powerful thing at the time.
Also, if you're a highly discriminating gamer, you're playing fucking PC.
Yeah,
you're not playing consoles.
All right. That's what I'm glad you brought that up, and it kind of loops back into what the question, who is this for? It's like it's exactly for people like me, and Sony knows much better than all of us how many of those people are. So people that want the highest possible fidelity games that you can get, right? Which is like you guys are saying, like, which is best found on PC. But I prefer to play on PlayStation. Like, I prefer to play on console. I just hate having to sacrifice that fidelity. So this is literally combining the best of both worlds. I still get to play on PlayStation, get trophies, and sit on my couch and have this little box under my TV instead of a honking tower.
Also, it helps that your current PS4 is going to poop. That also helps.
Well, yeah.
I think you really just got struck by lightning here with this. I think
perfect setup of you being interested in the high fidelity stuff, also having your PS4 not working.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes more check marks in your head, and that's not a bad thing. That's actually perfect for you because it's like the best outcome.
So I think regardless, because last night, for example, my PS4 just turned off by itself. It wouldn't turn back on. Today it's working again just fine.
Yeah.
This is like the second or third time that's happened. So it's still working. I would definitely have replaced it regardless. I'll still try to trade it in. I won't try to sell it because I don't want to screw a person over, but I'll definitely trade it into Amazon or GameStop or whatever.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Their customers are people.
Yeah, but it's not their customers.
But they also have a return policy. That's on GameStop for accepting the purchase.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think I was definitely going to replace it either way because the trade-in value for PS4 is actually pretty high. Like Amazon is offering like $160, $170, so it's not too bad at all. That'll definitely dig into that cost.
I checked during the conference yesterday, and GameStop had them at $125.
So
yeah, GameStop was lower. Amazon was higher for some reason.
I want all of your final thoughts before we move on to the future of PlayStation real quick. So what are your final thoughts on the meeting as a whole? And it could just be on PS4 Pro. Just a short little final thought.
Meeting was kind of bland and boring, but this product is awesome, and I'm very excited for it.
Okay, Jordan?
So I guess the closest thing I can come to is in the answering the question, who is this for in regards to the PS4 Pro? It seems like it's for not the highly discriminating gamer, but a gamer who wants a higher fidelity experience than what he gets on the basic consoles, but doesn't want to spend all the money that PC gaming might bring. So I think it's really like an in-betweener type of deal, and that's not a good place for Sony to be. That's not gonna sell a bunch of systems, in my opinion. I do not think that this system is going to sell very much at all.
I think the new remodel is going to sell way more than the PS4 Pro, which is fine for Sony too, because they're still selling a bunch of stuff. Yeah, my final thought is, should it exist? Sure.
No, I do not think it should. If that's the question, absolutely not.
Well, all right, hold on. Let's look at. There's the iPhone 6 and then the iPhone 6.
I don't even want to get started on Apple. That people should stop buying iPhones, because that whole event was garbage yesterday.
I agree. But so traditionally they always had the smaller iPhones, and then one year they decided we're going to have a second line, a bigger phone that's a little bit better, a little bit bigger, a little bit different. It might not be for everyone, but there is a group of people out there that are demanding this. So that's who it's for. If we're still making the old one, and everything still works on both phones.
Yes, but
this is just for a different group. So it doesn't hurt you having the smaller phone that the bigger one exists.
But it doesn't hurt the consumer at all. It doesn't hurt the consumer at all. But you're not thinking about the fact that like
phones
Apple
are a lot more
doesn't have a bunch
ubiquitous
of
than video game consoles.
Yeah, all the developers that are going to have to patch their games, that doesn't exist in that iPhone situation.
Also,
they have to change the resolutions. They have to make it fit on the bigger screens.
That's completely different, though.
Yeah.
I mean, like updating your Google Chrome app or your YouTube app to format on an iPhone 6 Plus is one thing. Sure, I mean it's not like easy, but they could get that done in a 24-hour period. I'm sure to update Witcher 3 or Fallout 4 or any of these huge ass games to maybe not run in 4K, but higher textures, higher grade textures.
They already do it on PC. I can't imagine it's that much work.
Yeah, but you also have to, like, the other side of this argument is, like, phone buyers aren't all gravy. I know plenty of people who, buy the original iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6s comes out, and they're like, well, my phone works perfectly. I don't have the best one, Like, I think that it's not all sunshine with the phone market. I don't think everyone's like, I have an iPhone 6, the iPhone 6s and Plus are out, I'm just going to upgrade willy-nilly. I think there's a lot of people questioning that stuff too, And phones are way more ubiquitous than video game consoles. A lot more people own a cell phone than own a video game console.
It's a much bigger difference that these developers, this burden that they're taking on is much, 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 much exponentially bigger and more time and more work put in than any app developer that could be on iOS.
Also, if you look at the timeline, look how long video game consoles have been around, and look how late it has happened for us to get iterative consoles, right? Look how long smartphones have been around, and look how quickly they moved to that iterative thing. It's a lot shorter of a time span,
I get the comparison, but this is absolutely apples to oranges.
I understand it, and there is a legitimate argument somewhere in there, but I don't think it's as apples to oranges as people.
So here, let me put it this way:
it's as apples to apples.
Yeah, that's
right. Let me put it this way, Jordan. You love your PS4, right? You think it's great,
I do indeed.
And
that's
you
my
wish,
day, bro.
But the PS4 Pro existing, does that change what is going on your PS4?
No, and I'm not upset that it exists. I just wish it was prettier so I could buy it.